Video 4, creating an international coursework page. For this video, I'm going to focus on adding documents and content to our projects page or our global experiences page, showcasing international coursework. So I'm going to start by updating project name 2 to international coursework. Now this text space, this is a great place to include either an explanation or an abstract of your work. And what I mean by that, for an international studies major, they may want to use this space as more of an abstract to introduce themselves. For someone who's maybe like a biology major, they may want to use this space to explain how they chose electives that would enhance their degree and career planning with global perspectives. So before we start working on the core page, I want to again change my image. So I'm not using the template image and go media from Wix. So I'm going to choose these colorful books. I'm going to make sure the photo I want is highlighted in blue, and then choose image. All right, so before I start working on the core page, I'm going to go ahead and add a button so that I can connect it later. So I'm going to come back up to add elements. I'm going to choose a theme button. And then going to drag it to align with my other button. There we go, using those pink lines. And then I'm going to change the text to read more because I want to be consistent. And that's all we're going to do with this right now. We'll come back when we finish the core page. So instead, we're going to add a new page. So we're going to come back to menus and pages. We're going to add page. Now, depending on how many courses you want to include in this page, you might want to use a template, right? Something like services, general, projects. So if you're using like all 4 courses, this would be a really good layout. We're going to go through and use this as a blank page, but I just wanted to let you know with a little bit of planning, sometimes it's easier to do a template. So sticking with our naming conventions, I'm going to name this International Coursework. And I want it to be a submenu of projects. So I'm going to just select it and drag it over. Now I'm going to add a page heading. So I'm coming back to my toolbar on the left, my Add Elements button. I'm going to choose text. I'm going to choose a theme text. I'm going to stick with heading 2. I'm going to move it to line it up with the pink guidelines. And then I'm going to update it to say International Coursework. So for your international coursework page, it's really important not to treat this as a transcript, but instead be intentional about what courses and or projects you want to highlight. So I'm going to come over to my Add Elements, and I took 4 international courses that I want to highlight. So I'm going to come down to List to make it a little easier. This way, I can make sure that all 4 of the courses I'm going to highlight are going to be repeated. So I like this hover repeater here. I'm just going to click on it. And with a hover, you can see when I click on the individual box, I have regular and hover. So when you hover your mouse, this is what you see. When it's regular, this is what you'll see. So I'm actually going to adjust the hover because I don't want these arrows pointing to the right. I actually want them to be pointing down because that's where I'm going to put my attachments. So to edit this, you just have to select the text. Let's say this will be course name. Here, this is a really great opportunity to talk about how meaningful the course was, what you got out of the course, why you took the course. Really give your perspective. So this is not a course description. This is your experience description. All right, so now I want to give myself a little more space, and I'm going to add my document here. So I'm going to come back to add elements. I'm actually going to go to button, and I'm going to come to text and icon buttons. So I could use something like this to show that this is going to be a file. I like icon buttons, so I'm just going to make the choice to come down here and kind of do a document button. I like that one. Now I have to upload the file that I want to use. I'm just going to use this example ISP info flyer because it's a Word document. I'm going to press open. Once it is uploaded, I want to make sure it is selected and highlighted, and then click add page. Now I will need to move this, use my pink lines, and then this is extra. I don't need that. So it's a really great idea to add samples from your coursework that you've done. So for example, this might be a research paper you did. You could also add a PowerPoint presentation or a poster presentation. So to see how this works, we're going to go to preview. And you can see that when I hover, you get the arrow that kind of tells you to download. Also notice that when I hover, it goes up and kind of covers up my coursework. I don't like that, so I'm going to change it. But once you download, there it is. So let's go back to editor and let's just move this down a little just to give us a little more space. And then autosave is on, but I'm going to save again just to make sure. And to go over it one more time, if you want to add, for example, a PowerPoint slide or a poster, come back to our add elements, go to button, choose the type of button you want, document. So I'm going to stick with this one. Kind of be consistent, staying with that same style. I'm going to upload from my computer a poster project. So I'm going to upload this example of a poster that was presented at an international conference. Right. Make sure it's highlighted, selected, add to page. Again, I'm going to move. Now I don't know why it's doing this double thing. Sometimes Wix has little hiccups, so I'm just going to delete that. Going to make sure this is in line using my pink guidelines. You can check the settings. And now when I preview, it will open. All right, so it's actually a PDF instead of a PowerPoint slide. So I might want to update that. So to do that, I'm going to just click on the button, settings, and change icon. So I want a PDF instead, so I want this one. Then I'm going to close. It's still aligned. I'm going to preview, make sure it works. All right. So now the last thing we need to do is connect our pages. So we're going to go back to the projects page, come back to our button we put last time, select it, and we want it to link again to a page because this is a multi-page layout. If this was a constant scroll layout, you would link to the section or anchor that you added for that object. So here, this is telling us this is the page we're on right now. This is the page I want to link to. And I noticed that I actually had a spelling mistake in my page. So what I want to do, I'm going to come over to menus and pages, click on the international coursework, and I can either double click it, or I can click this little ellipses and rename. International coursework. Done. And that's all there is. So you can see now when we preview, we go to projects. We could read more about my study abroad, or we could read more about international coursework.